name is Rachel and I'm here today to do a book haul. So this book haul is gonna go mainly from like January, February, March. I haven't filmed any book hauls since then, but I have been getting books, so I have quite a few to show you right now. First few that I got, I'm not going to talk in any detail about. I will just show you what they are because I talked about them all in a video recently about what I'm planning to read while this isolation thing is going on. So I don't really want to go over them. I've already talked about what they're all about, so if you would like to go and look that up, that's fine. I will put it in the cards somewhere. So yeah, just going to briefly mention these. So I have Genderqueer by Maia Kobabe. I finished this morning. It was really good. We have Maia by Roald Dahl, illustrated by Quentin Blake. Toffee by Sarah Crossan. Nearly finished this one and absolutely loving it. Elevation by Stephen King. This is one of his new ones. The Light Jar and The Day I Was Erased, both by Lisa Thompson. And Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera. So they're all the books that I mentioned yesterday. Like I said, not going to go into any real detail about them. The next thing I want to mention quickly is one that I got more from an event than an actual book per se. But I got the programme for Waitress when I went seeing that in London. I went seeing the show a few weeks ago with my mum and we went seeing my family, which super excited that I got to go there before this isolation happened. And it was the one that Sarah Bareilles was doing. It's just absolutely amazing. The show was amazing. But yeah, I got this programme. It's really interesting. Next, we have some graphic novels. I actually forgot I did mention this one yesterday in that video as well. So Honor Girl by Maggie Thrash is another one that I got that I mentioned in that video. And then we have two that I've actually read. So the first one is Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman. I do follow these online, but I love to get a physical copy because I love the way that this graphic novel is set out. It kind of, none of the tiles follow any linear structure, they just kind of dot around everywhere, and I really like that, and I love that it's black and white. And yeah, I just love the story of Charlie and Nick. So love this, got this. It's amazing. And then the other one I got, which, oh my god, I was blown away by, was Glass Town by Isabel Greenberg. So I'm a huge Isabel Greenberg fan. She wrote my favourite graphic novel to date, which is The 100 Nights of Hero. Absolutely love that book. When I was in London, I found this in the huge Waterstones that's at Piccadilly Circus, and I was super excited for it, and it did not disappoint. It was amazing. This is about the Brontes, and I thought it was going to just be about Glasstown, which is the world that they created together, but actually in this book Greenberg goes into the relationship between Charlotte, Emily and Anne. She goes into their relationship with their brother and how involved he was in the creation of these little imaginary places that they made together, which I think is something that's overlooked a lot because it's thought of as the three sisters who wrote instead of Bramwell being involved. So I thought that was really cool, and yeah, I just loved it, and the illustrations were so beautiful. It tends to stick to the same sorts of colour schemes, so you'll have this kind of reds and browns and all that sort of stuff, and then when it's back in the real world, like with the sisters just talking and things like that, you see a lot of like blues and stuff, which I really like. I would highly recommend this. Absolutely loved it so much. So then I got two books from Waterstones. So the first one was Girl, Woman, Other. I was really excited to pick this up. I've been wanting it for ages, but the hardback is huge and I was like, I'm just going to wait till it's in paperback. So finally picked up a copy of this, which I've been super excited about. I've heard it being talked about as having LGBT plus themes in it, which is something I love. This won the Man Booker in 2019 as well, which is awesome. I don't actually know that much about what this is about because it doesn't really say it on the back. It just says, this is Britain as you've never read it. This is Britain as it's never been told. From top of the country to the bottom, the century of change and growth and struggle in life. It doesn't actually say what it's about, but I really wanted to read it and it sounds really good, and I love stories that focus on women as well, so I just thought I'm gonna get it anyway, even though I have no idea what it's about. And the author is Bernadine Evaristo, and she is Anglo-Nigerian, so that's cool. And then the other book I got as part of that deal was the one that I really wanted, and it was Jog On, and this is by Bella Mackie, and this is How Running Saved My Life. If you know anything about me, you will know that I love books that motivate me to do things. So I have a lot of books on writing craft that I just read before writing sessions because it gets me into the mindset. And I do that a lot with running and exercise as well. When I'm reading books or memoirs about running, I tend to go out running more. I tend to exercise more because I just find them motivating. Super excited for this one. And this is just about her relationship with running. At the end of her 20s, didn't have the strength to get off the sofa, and she just felt very languid, I think. And then one day she put on her shoes, went for a run, and it's all about her relationship that developed with running. And yeah, I love running, so this sounds amazing. The next book I got well cheap, and I showed a ridiculous amount of restraint, and it is Vox Silence Can Be Deafening by Christina Dalcher. Now, I heard a lot about this. I know it's a dystopian, and I know it's to do with women, so we love that. I don't really know much more about it, but I saw it on a lot of channels, and it sounds very like Red Clocks, Handmaid's Tale, that kind of a thing. And also the restraint is that this was £1.99? No, £2, and it was 3 for a £5, and I went in the shop and I was like, there are no other books that I want from this shop, just buy it for £2 and don't do the deal. And I didn't, and I'm proud of me for that. So there's that one. And then the next book I have is Daisy Jones and the Six. I've got quite a lot of like big hitter popular books on this list. Yeah, I read the first page of this actually, and it looks so good, so I'm really excited for it. I don't think it's one that I necessarily would have picked up, but I read what was it called? Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Jenkins Reid, and it was one of my favourite books of the year that I read it. I absolutely loved it. I think her ability to weave a story is just phenomenal. So super excited for this. And this book gives me really like Fleetwood Mac kind of vibes, and I love Fleetwood Mac. Like that whole just story behind them being together, relationships going on behind the scenes, the time that it's set in, they're the vibes I get. And this is about a reporter who is following the band while they're splitting, something like that. It sounds really good anyway. And then I have The Overstory by Richard Powers. So I've been super excited for this book for a while. I heard someone talking about it on YouTube, I can't remember who it was, but basically they just explained what this is, and I kept seeing it everywhere, but I didn't really know what it was about. And the minute I found out what it was about, I was like, I need that book, because this is like a multi-generational story following different people, but it also follows trees, and it tells the story through trees or something, and it's a lot to do with the environment, which I find really exciting, because I love anything that's to do with like the natural world and things, especially when it's like weaved into like fiction stories. I think that's really awesome. So it says, each summoned in different way by trees are brought together in a last stand to save the continent's few remaining acres of virgin forest. Oh my god, so I'm super excited for this. This is like a big hitter. Well, it looks like a big hitter because it looks huge, but actually I've just looked at the end and it's only 500 and something pages. It's just a really beautifully hardback big published copy, but super excited for that one. And then I have a few books that are by people who are not like traditionally British. I don't know if they're from Britain and just have a different heritage, or if they're from a different country altogether, because I haven't looked into every single one of them, but I'm super excited for them all anyway. So excited. There we go. The first one is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyankan Braithwaite. I am so sorry. So I've heard loads about this. Everyone seems to be picking this book up, and I wanted to be one of the people picking it up because it sounded amazing. And I did, when I picked it up, read the first 27 pages, which is quite a lot. Like when I've been mentioning all these books, I've been like, oh, I read the first page, I read the first few pages, and like that's it, and I just get a feel for it. This I've read nearly 30 pages of because I really enjoy it. It is so readable because of the way that it's split up into chapters. So I think this is going to be a really fast read. This is going to be something I pick up soon. This is about a woman who, her sister rings her up and she has killed her boyfriend, and this is like the third time this has happened, and then she starts to date a doctor at the woman's work, I think it is. And she's like, for fuck's sake, I don't want her to kill someone else who I like, who's actually one of my colleagues and I kind of fancy. And that's all I know about the story so far, but it sounds very intriguing and I'm excited for it. Then we have Ocean Vuong's On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, which is very popular at the moment. What is my dog doing outside this door? Jesus Christ. Yeah, very excited for this. I did start reading this. I've got 20 pages into it and I was loving it writing style wise. This is one of the most beautiful things I've ever written writing style wise, but actual story wise there doesn't seem to be much happening at the minute, so I want to see how that goes and how I end up finding this. But on the back it is like discussed by Max Porter, and that's one of the main reasons that I bought this, because I love Max Porter. And also I listened to the Books and Ben podcast, the Ariel and Raylene one, which I really like, and I know they have a episode on this, so I really wanted to read it so I could listen to it. But yeah, this is a letter from a son to a mother who cannot read. It's all about him moving, because I think he was from Vietnam and then he moved and then his mother didn't move with him. I don't know, but it sounds amazing. But I'm in two minds about it, because I'm enjoying it on a writing level, but on a plot story level I don't know if it's got that much there, so we'll see if I end up finishing this, unsure. Then we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. God, I'm such a dick with names. This is another one they mentioned a lot on that podcast, and I just really wanted to read it. I thought it sounded amazing. So you can basically time travel in this story and go to somewhere for however long you want to go, but you have to be back before your coffee gets cold, which I think sounds really, really fascinating. And the main reason that I picked this up is I mentioned in a video, I think it was my favourites video or something like that, I really like translated stories like The Vegetarian, like Convenience Store Woman, that are about like such a banal everyday sort of situation, but I don't know, like it just has this flair to it. That's what I really enjoy, and I feel like this sounds a bit like that. I mean, it has got a bit of the surrealist in it with the time travel, but really it's just like about a coffee shop. And so yeah, super excited for this, hoping that this is everything I want it to be. I'm hoping to read this really soon actually, because yeah, me just talking about it then has made me want to read it again. So yeah, I clearly need to just do hauls of my books and then I'll end up reading the books straight away. And then the last book I have is Edna OBrien's Girl. Now, this is #1 published by Faber and Faber, and I usually love fiction by Faber and Faber. I think they publish some absolutely great stories. This is really beautifully published, and I went in Waterstones, I think in January, and I saw this. And I hadn't heard anyone talk about it, I hadn't seen it on BookTube. I have seen it since on a few people's channels. I think it might have been nominated for the Women's Prize, I can't remember. But if it wasn't, a lot of people predicted that it would be. And yeah, I've seen a lot of hype about it now. When I bought it, I hadn't, and the reason that I picked it up is because I think it just sounds fascinating from the blurb. So I will read you all of the blurb because it sounds amazing. Captured, abandoned and married into Boko Haram, the narrator of this story witnesses and suffers the horrors of a community of men governed by a brutal code of violence. Barely more than a girl herself, she must soon learn how to survive as a woman with a child of her own. Just as the world around her seems entirely consumed by madness, bound for hell, she is offered an escape of sorts, but only into another landscape of trials and terrors amidst the unforgiving wilds of northeastern Nigeria, through the forest and beyond, a place where her traumas are met with the blinkered judgment of a society in denial. And I'm pretty sure this is something to do with someone being captured. This lady, Edna OBrien, is also Irish. So yeah, another person who's not English, which is great. We're getting some non-English people, which is awesome. I just realised that I said before British authors and then I mentioned an Irish person and they're British. I meant English. But yeah, they're all the books. I doubt whether I'm going to get all of these in shot. That seems like a crazy idea. But I'm going to try because I need to take a picture. So, they are all the books that I've got in the last 3 months. Fuck, this is heavy. Let me know if you've got any of them. Let me know if you've read any of them, if they're good, what you think I should get to first. I will see you in my next video. Bye!